and participated in the genocide, reinforcing the testimony. The administrator of the Tole neighborhood and the surroundings, Mr. Nagatu Umeta, publicly stated that both Mr. Bacha and the main administrator of the Gimbi Warada and the head of peace and security instructed him by phone to carry out these mass killings of ethnic Amharas as ordered by high government officials. It's also reported that the local administrators have prevented the proper burial of the victims, forcing survivors to dig mass graves in the grounds of private residences. Video and photographic evidence of the atrocity is well documented and available for the interested parties. Although ethnic Amharas are one of the largest ethnic groups in Ethiopia, Amharas have been minoritized since the early 1990s, when the Tigray People's Liberation Front led the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front government came to power. The ruling faction, the TPLF, instilled an ethnic apartheid system that declared ethnic Amharas as their enemy and reduced the ethnic group to second-class citizen, effectively disenfranchising over 50 million Amharas. The ethnic apartheid system has severely limited the Amharas' political representation and falsely labeled Amharas as settlers or colonizers within their own country, within our own country. This toxic rhetoric is allowing the continuous victimization of Amharas. According to the reports released by the Amhara Association of America, the OLA is also responsible for the killing of 16,888 ethnic Amharas in 2021, which took place in the Oromia region and Amhara towns bordering it. The incursion was acknowledged by the federal government, sending government forces after local Amhara militia defended civilians who were ordered to disarm and leave by the Oromo commanders of the army. As soon as the Amhara militia was forced to leave, government forces left the area for the OLA to retake the towns, destroying local civilian infrastructure and further mass killing of Amhara civilians in the process. Additionally, 37 Amharas were killed by the members of the regional government's Oromia Special Forces in 2021. The Oromia Regional President, Mr. Shimallis Abdissa, has not denounced the massacres that have been occurring since 2018. He's especially known for his public hateful remarks against Amharas, inflaming the problem to unprecedented proportions. He complicit in the demise of thousands of Amharas is beyond doubt. His complicity, Earlier this week, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed addressed the Ethiopian parliament and made inflammatory remarks downplaying the ongoing massacres of ethnic Amharas to a slight security issue and comparing the state-sponsored killings to crime committed in the United States of America, untimely vilifying a sovereign nation we call our home that respects human rights. Members of the parliament from the national movement of Amhara also asked for accountability amidst the mass incarceration in the Amhara region, where over 12,000 citizens, included notable historians, teachers, journalists, opposition political party members, mainly Fano militias and their families, have been abducted and arrested, the youngest just being 3 years old. The Fano militia is a traditional and patriotic Amhara force historically known for its sacrifices to protect the sovereignty and integrity of the nation, justice, law, and order since the medieval age. The Balkan Global Amhara movement strongly condemns the various degrees of injustices committed against the ethnic Amharas, and we demand the following. For Amharas and peace-loving people of Ethiopia to stand with the Amhara people at this very critical time, condemn these heinous acts of genocide and the systemic government-endorsed ethnic cleansing against Amhara people. We ask that you show solidarity to the victims by implementing peaceful civil disobedience to bring a permanent end to the genocide, abductions, and demand the unconditional release of all prisoners, conscious without of any precondition. We ask that all Ethiopians stand against the ethnic apartheid federalist system that has seen its peak of bloodshed during Prime Minister Ahmed and his Oromo Prosperity Party's reign of terror. We ask of you to advocate for the transitional democratic government with genuine and equitable representation. We call for the immediate removal of Prime Minister Ahmed's government. Oromo Regional President Shimallis Abdissa, Speaker of the House. Agengu Titagan, Amhara Regional President, and Dr. Yikal Kafala, who have all enabled the genocide of Amharas. We demand for Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, Shimallis Abdissa, and other senior Prosperity Party members who are complicit in the Amhara genocide to be held accountable by the International Criminal Court for enabling this genocide against the Amharas. At the recommendation of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, we also call for an immediate, independent, and in-depth investigation conducted on all genocidal massacres committed by the ruling Prosperity Party, OLA, OLF, OSF, TPLF, and the Guzmu militia, their allied groups against the ethnic Amharas and non-Oromos throughout Ethiopia. This independent body must also ensure an inclusive judicial inquiry and restitution for those that have been affected since the inception of this ethnic apartheid since 1991. We call on all governments and the broader international community to condemn these heinous acts of violence and utilize targeted sanctions against individuals within Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's administration complicit in the Amhara genocide. We oppose the current arrangements of negotiations between the TPLF and Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's Oromo Prosperity Party that excludes Amharas. A genuine and lasting peace cannot be achieved without the participation of Amharas who must negotiate their future. Prime Minister Ahmed does not have the mandate to negotiate and safeguard Amhara interests. Thus, we call on the international community to correct the measure and ensure genuine Amhara organizations are part of this negotiation process. The Amhara Association in Georgia is deeply concerned by the total lack of concern by the U.S. government for the suffering of tens of millions of Amharas in the last 27 years under TPLF and in the last 4 years under Abiy's ethnic-based regimes. We have observed with dismay that the U.S. government at multiple levels have ignored the continuing atrocities against the Amharas, including genocide, ethnic cleansing, and displacement of Welkait Oromo region and the Matakal Bane Shangu, while loudly broadcasting its concerns about Tigray, leaving us with the impression that the suffering of millions of Amharas for the last 30 years don't matter for the U.S. government. Therefore, we call the U.S. government to support a comprehensive, independent investigation for the following atrocities: ethnic cleansing, genocide, rape, torture, displacement of Amharas by the TPLF since the 1980s in the Welkayla, Tagara, Talamat, Tumera, and Raya regions, including the most recent Amhara genocide in the Mike Aja in 2020. Ethnic cleansing, rape, torture, and displacement of Amharas in the Ben Shangul and Oromo regions for the last 4 years. We call the Ethiopian Americans and Friends of Ethiopians to call their senators and House of Representatives to publicly condemn the Amhara genocide in Ethiopia and request for an independent investigation. And we need you to act now. Thank you.